The veil thins, I sense the awakening. Goddess thou destiny of pain seen.
Father, that human isn't normal, the alien princess whispered, her voice barely a tremor in the vast council chamber. Her father, the High Chancellor, gave a subtle shake of his head, his gaze fixed on the solitary figure below. He stood alone before the Council of Worlds, calm, smiling, and utterly unafraid. This was unheard of. For a millennia, species brought before this assembly trembled. They pleaded, they bargained, they groveled. But this human, this representative of a fledgling race from a forgotten corner of the galaxy, simply stood there, his hands clasped casually behind his back. His name was Elias Vance. He wasn't a king, a general, or a scientist. He was, by his own admission, a historian. When our scout ships first arrived in his system, humanity had panicked, as expected. But then, something shifted. They sent us a message, not of surrender, but of invitation. They offered one representative to speak for their entire species. We thought it was a sign of naivety, of a species so young they didn't understand the power dynamics of the cosmos. We were wrong. The High Chancellor finally spoke, his voice booming through the chamber, enhanced by sonic amplifiers. Human, you stand before the architects of 1,000 star systems. Your world, Earth, has been classified for integration. Your compliance is expected. Why do you smile? Elias Vance's smile widened just a fraction. With respect, High Chancellor, you've made a slight miscalculation. You see us as a young, divided species, prone to conflict and self-destruction. And you're not wrong. We have fought wars over patches of dirt, over ideas, over gods. We have stared into the abyss of our own making more times than you can count. He took a slow step forward, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. But you misunderstand the nature of our conflicts. Every war, every struggle, every near-extinction event wasn't just a disaster. It was a lesson. It was a crucible. While you were building empires in stable, predictable harmony, we were surviving chaos. We learned to adapt not in centuries, but in years, sometimes in moments. The princess leaned closer to her father. His heart rate is steady. His brain activity shows no signs of fear. It's contentment, Elias continued, his voice now carrying a strange weight, a resonance that defied the chamber's acoustics. You see, we've fought monsters. We just always found them within ourselves. We have imagined and survived 1,000 ends to our own world. What you represent is simply a new kind of monster, a new kind of apocalypse. And we are very, very good at surviving. He raised a hand, and a small, simple data chip rested in his palm. This chip contains our history, not the sanitized version we tell our children, but the real one. The bloody, brutal, and terrifying truth of humanity. It details every atrocity, every betrayal, but also every act of impossible courage, every moment of selfless sacrifice. Every time we clawed our way back from the brink, the High Chancellor gestured, and a gravlifter gently plucked the chip from the human's hand, delivering it to the Council's central console. As the data began to stream, a visible ripple of shock spread through the assembled dignitaries. Images and records flashed across the main view screen. World wars, genocides, but also doctors fighting plagues without rest, firefighters running into burning buildings, ordinary people shielding strangers from harm. A montage of horror and hope, inseparable. That is our strength. High Chancellor, Elias said, his voice now soft but clear. You have known peace for so long. You've forgotten how to fight. You've forgotten the strength that is forged in desperation. You see one human standing before you, but I am not alone. I carry the legacy of 100 billion souls who lived, fought, and died. We are the children of chaos. We tamed a death world. We tamed our own demons, and if necessary, we will tame the stars. He paused, letting his words sink in. We do not seek war, but we are not afraid of it. We are not asking for your permission to exist. We are here to announce our arrival. The question isn't whether we will comply. The question, High Chancellor, is whether you are prepared for a neighbor who has survived their own hell and learned to call it home. The chamber was silent. The princess looked at her father, whose many eyes were wide with a new, dawning understanding. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Council of Worlds felt a tremor of fear, and it was caused by one smiling, unafraid human. The scans all came back negative. Nothing special, just the usual biological blueprint. Flesh, bone, a steady flow of oxygen. The doctors looked at the charts, shrugged, and sent me home with a prescription for rest and a pat on the back. They said it was probably just stress, but their clinical reassurances did nothing to quiet the feeling that had taken root deep inside me. The feeling that the room, my own bedroom, was getting smaller. It started subtly, a sensation I'd dismiss as soon as it arrived. I'd be sitting on my bed, reading a book, and suddenly feel the walls pressing in. Not physically, not in a way you could measure with a tape. It was a pressure in the air, a thickening of the atmosphere. I'd shake my head, stand up, walk around, and the feeling would dissipate like morning mist. Just stress, I told myself. The doctors were right. But it kept happening, and with increasing frequency. Soon, it wasn't just my bedroom. It was my office cubicle, the elevator, my car. Any enclosed space became a potential trap. The world outside remained vast and open, but the moment I stepped indoors, the dimensions seemed to warp. The ceiling would feel lower, the walls closer. The air, rich with oxygen, according to the scans, felt thin and heavy in my lungs. I started measuring. I bought a laser distance measurer and obsessively checked the dimensions of every room I entered. My bedroom was 10 feet by 12 feet. It was always 10 by 12. The numbers were concrete, absolute. Yet, the feeling persisted, a ghost in the machine of my perception. The logical part of my brain, the part that trusted the scans and the measurements, was at war with the primal, instinctual part that was screaming, "Get out." My life began to shrink along with the rooms. I stopped going to the movies. I avoided restaurants. I started working from home. But even my own apartment became a labyrinth of shrinking spaces. I'd find myself spending hours in the most open part of the living room, as far from the walls as possible, my back to no solid surface. Sleep became a nightmare, waking up in the dark, convinced the ceiling was just inches from my face. One night, unable to bear it any longer, I grabbed my keys and just drove. I ended up at the beach, the vast, dark ocean stretching out before me, the endless sky above. For the first time in months, I could breathe. The pressure was gone. The world was its proper size again. I sat there on the cold sand until dawn, watching the stars fade, and that's when I understood. The scans showed nothing wrong with my body, my flesh, my bones, my oxygen levels. Because the problem wasn't inside me. The problem was the rooms. It wasn't my perception that was skewed. It was reality itself. The spaces were actually changing, contracting around me, and for some reason, I was the only one who could feel it. I was a canary in a coal mine, but the mine was the entire built world. In the Grand Galactic Council, every species is ranked, tested, and categorized. From the crystalline entities of Andromeda to the silicon-based life forms of the Kepler system, all are measured. It's a tradition as old as the stars themselves, a way to maintain order, a cosmic pecking order. And this cycle, it was humanity's turn. The data streams flickered, the universal translators hummed, and the High Proctor, a being of pure energy, announced the results. Humans, it was declared, ranked in the bottom percentile. Weaker, slower, less intelligent than the galactic average. The council chambers, filled with beings of immense power and ancient lineage, erupted in a chorus of condescending chimes, clicks, and what could only be described as laughter. But the human representative, Ambassador Thawne, didn't laugh. He didn't even flinch. He just stood there, a lone figure in a simple suit, his face unreadable. The laughter slowly died down, replaced by a curious silence. The Xylos delegate, a towering insectoid with razor-sharp mandibles, sneered, its voice a grating buzz. Look at the little primate, it said, so fragile. A single one of my claws could snap its skeletal structure. Thorn simply looked at the Zelos, a small, almost imperceptible smile playing on his lips. You're right, he said, his voice calm and clear, carrying across the silent hall. You are stronger, faster. Your species can withstand the vacuum of space unprotected. We cannot. He paused, letting his words sink in. Our planet tried to kill us for millions of years. It threw ice ages at us, supervolcanoes, plagues that wiped out millions. Our sun burns our skin. Our own gravity works to break our bones from the day we are born. Everything on our world, from the tiniest virus to the largest predator, sees us as a source of food. We are, by all accounts, hopelessly outmatched by our own environment. The council listened, a new kind of attention dawning. This wasn't the usual plea or protest. This was something different. Thorn continued, his voice gaining a quiet intensity. So what did we do? Did we evolve natural armor? No. Did we develop biological weapons? No. We adapted. We didn't grow fur, so we learned to make clothes and build shelters. We couldn't outrun predators, so we learned to make tools and set traps. We couldn't photosynthesize, so we learned to cultivate the land and domesticate animals. Our minds became our claws. Our cooperation became our armor. Our relentless, stubborn refusal to die became our greatest weapon. He gestured to the data streams, still floating in the air. You've measured our bodies. You've tested our physical limits, and you found us wanting. You are correct. An average human is physically insignificant. But you have made a critical error in your calculations. You've measured one of us. You've never seen what happens when you threaten all of us. Thorn's gaze swept across the chamber, meeting the eyes of a dozen different species. You laugh because we are weak, but that weakness is our greatest strength. It forced us to become the most resourceful, the most tenacious, the most dangerously cooperative species this galaxy has ever seen. We have clawed our way to the stars, not on the strength of our bodies, but on the sheer, unyielding power of our collective will. A profound silence filled the hall. The laughter was gone, replaced by a chilling realization. They had measured the sheep, but they had not accounted for the shepherd, the wolf, and the flock all rolled into one. Thorn straightened his tie. So yes, he concluded, his voice echoing in the sudden stillness. Rank us last. Call us weak. Laugh. We're used to it. The universe has been trying to break us since we first learned to stand. It hasn't succeeded yet. You are welcome to try. The human ambassador turned and walked away, leaving the Galactic Council in a silence more profound than any noise, contemplating the terrifying power of a species that had conquered a hostile world with nothing but their minds and their unbreakable spirit. Did you know that just a 1% improvement every day can completely change everything? It sounds almost too simple to be true, right? But stick with me, because this tiny, almost unnoticeable change is the secret to unlocking incredible results in your life. Let's break it down. 1% of a day is just under 15 minutes. That's it. 15 minutes. Think about it. What could you do with an extra 15 minutes dedicated to getting just a little bit better at something? Maybe you want to learn a new language. Instead of trying to cram grammar rules for hours, what if you just spent 15 minutes learning 5 new words every single day? In a year, that's over 1,800 new words. You'd be well on your way to conversational fluency. Or maybe your goal is to get fit. The idea of hitting the gym for an hour every day can feel overwhelming. But what about a 15-minute walk, or doing a few push-ups and squats at home? It doesn't sound like much, but that daily 1% effort builds momentum. Soon, that 15-minute walk becomes a 20-minute jog. Those few push-ups become a full workout routine. The change is so gradual you barely notice it, but the results are undeniable. This concept is often called the power of compounding, just like how money grows with interest. Your skills, your health, your knowledge, they all compound over time. On day 1, a 1% improvement is tiny. you won't see a difference. On day 30, you might feel a slight shift. But after a year, the person you are after 365 days of consistent 1% improvements is staggeringly different from the person who did nothing. The math is wild. If you get 1% better each day for a year, you'll end up nearly 38 times better than when you started. On the flip side, if you get 1% worse each day, you'll decline almost to zero. That's the power of small, daily habits. The beauty of the 1% rule is that it beats procrastination. We often put off our big goals because they seem like giant, unclimbable mountains. I'll start writing my book when I have a whole weekend free. I'll start my diet on Monday. We wait for the perfect moment, which never comes. But anyone can find 15 minutes. You can do it right now. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. It's about showing up, day after day, and laying one more brick. So, what's your 1%? What's that small thing you can do today, and every day, to move closer to the person you want to become? Maybe it's reading 10 pages of a book, meditating for 5 minutes, tidying one small corner of your room, or even just taking a moment to plan your next day. The task itself doesn't have to be glamorous. It just has to be consistent. The journey of 1,000 miles truly begins with a single step. Your 1% is that step, taken every single day. Stop waiting for motivation to strike like lightning. Start building it, 1% at a time. I promise you, a year from now, you will be amazed at how far you've come. When the universe decided to test its creations, it didn't send a flood or a fire. It just turned up the gravity. Not by much, at first. Just a subtle, persistent pull, like wearing a heavy coat on a summer day. The first to notice were the birds. Their graceful arcs faltered, their wings beating frantically against an unseen weight. Then the mighty beasts of the land, the elephants, the rhinos, creatures built on a foundation of sheer power, began to stumble. Their massive frames, once a symbol of dominance, became their anchor, dragging them down. The ancient trees, titans of the forest, groaned under the new strain, their branches sagging, their roots tearing at the earth. It was a slow, silent apocalypse. The strong, the massive, the powerful, they all began to fall. Their strength, paradoxically, became their fatal weakness. The very mass that made them formidable was now a crushing burden. Species that had ruled for millennia found their reign ending not with a bang, but with the quiet, inexorable pressure of their own weight. The world was being remade, and the old kings were being dethroned by an invisible hand. And then there was humanity. We weren't the strongest, not by a long shot. We weren't the biggest or the fastest. We were, as always, the adaptable ones. We felt the pull, of course. Every step became a conscious effort, every breath a little deeper. Getting out of bed felt like climbing a small hill. The world became a constant, low-grade workout. But we didn't collapse. We learned. We adjusted. Our bodies, miraculous machines of adaptation, began to change. Our muscles grew denser, our bones stronger. We learned new ways to move, to balance, to exist in this heavier world. We watched the giants fall and understood a profound truth. Brute strength was a liability. It was resilience, the ability to bend without breaking. That was the new currency of survival. In the heart of a crumbling city, a man stood amidst the wreckage of what was once a skyscraper. It had buckled under its own immense weight, a tombstone for an era of hubris. He was not a warrior or a king. He was just a man. He felt the immense pressure bearing down on his shoulders, a force that had brought down creatures 100 times his size. He took a breath, feeling the strain in his lungs. He looked at the fallen giants around him, the remnants of a world that prized size above all else. Then, he did something simple, something profound. He widened his stance, lowered his center of gravity, and braced himself against the unyielding force of his new reality. He didn't fight it. He accepted it. He found his balance. In that simple adjustment, in that quiet act of defiance, he wasn't just surviving, he was evolving. He was becoming something new, something forged in the crucible of a heavier world. The age of giants was over. The age of humanity, the masters of adaptation, had just begun. And in this new world, we wouldn't just stand. We would learn to thrive. Have you ever felt like you were at rock bottom? Like the world had thrown everything it had at you, and you were just one hit away from shattering completely? I want to tell you a story. It's a story about a man who knew that feeling all too well. It starts not with a bang, but with a crack. The sound of a bone breaking, a muscle tearing. It's the sound of a life coming to a sudden, grinding halt. Imagine dedicating your entire life to something. For him, it was movement. It was the roar of the crowd, the burn in his muscles, the single-minded focus of pushing his body to its absolute limit. His body wasn't just a vessel, it was his craft, his identity, his everything. Then, in a split second, it was all taken away. The diagnosis was grim. Doctors used words like career-ending and permanent damage. The world he had built, the future he had envisioned, crumbled into dust around him. The physical pain was immense, a constant, throbbing reminder of what he'd lost. But the mental anguish was a different kind of monster. The silence of his room replaced the cheers of the stadium. The reflection in the mirror was no longer a champion, but a broken man. He was adrift in a sea of doubt, anger, and despair. Every morning was a battle just to get out of bed, to face a day stripped of its purpose. He was staring into an abyss, and the abyss was staring right back. How do you come back from that? When your very identity is ripped away, who are you? This is where most stories would end. But his was just beginning. In the darkest moments, when the pain was almost unbearable, he focused on one simple, primal act: breathing. Inhale, exhale, a steady, quiet rhythm in the chaos. It was the only thing he could control. With each breath, he found a tiny anchor in the storm. It was a small act of defiance, a whisper that said, "I'm still here." He realized that while his body was broken, his spirit didn't have to be. The end of one dream didn't have to be the end of all dreams. So, he began to adapt. The journey was excruciatingly slow. The first attempt to move a finger sent shockwaves of pain. The first step was a monumental effort. Every tiny movement was a victory hard won. He stopped seeing his body as a failed machine and started seeing it as a project, a puzzle to be solved. He became a student of his own recovery. He learned about anatomy, nutrition, and the incredible power of the mind-body connection. The gym, once a place of explosive power, became a laboratory for careful, deliberate reconstruction. He wasn't just rebuilding his body, he was rebuilding himself. He found a new kind of strength, one that wasn't measured in pounds lifted or records broken. It was the strength of resilience, the strength to show up every single day, especially on the days he wanted to quit. He learned patience, humility, and a profound appreciation for the simple miracle of being able to move. The scars on his body became a map of his journey, a testament not to his weakness, but to his will to heal. Years passed. The man who emerged from this crucible was not the same one who had entered it. He was stronger, not just physically, but in a way that resonated from his very core. He found a new purpose, helping others find their own strength. He became a coach, a mentor, a guide for those who felt lost and broken, just as he once had. He used his story, his pain, and his triumph to inspire them. His message was simple: your breaking point can become your breakthrough. The cracks are where the light gets in. His story teaches us that our greatest adversities hold the seeds of our greatest growth. When everything falls apart, we have a choice. We can stay buried in the rubble, or we can start picking up the pieces and build something new, something stronger. Muscles tore, bones cracked. He breathed, he adapted, and in doing so, he became more than he ever was before.